The next contest of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge is Portraiture. Our judge and mentor is Madhavan Palanisamy. Based in Chennai, Madhavan uses photography to interpret the strange beauty around us. It helps him to lift off the veil of what can be seen with the naked eye, to reveal something profound or playful, or both. It encourages Madhavan to ask the questions such as who are we, where do we come from, why are we here, how are we connected. Besides his photography, his practice also brings together various art forms that he loves, such as writing, drawing, and moving images. He has won the Lens Sculpture Black and White 2019 award, and his work has been featured in GUP, Photofilmic JRNL, Lens Sculpture, From Better Photography, WB, and Liberation France. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so
So,
much for a nice and kind intro. Yeah. Great. It's very nice to be part of this. And thank you for getting me on board. And it's also an opportunity to, meet and learn and influence a lot of new photographers, young and old, and learn from them from different cultures. I'm going to keep it like some things that I've learned, some things that occupy my mind when I'm shooting portraits and people as such. And I'll tell you about some projects of mine and also some recent ones that are relevant to this kind of a situation. Um, so this is the question that we are asking first, which is what are we really shooting when we're shooting portraits? Of course, we're shooting portrait means a person, but it also means the person in multiple angles, in multiple facets and dimensions. So let's see, like there is a human being, and it could be anyone. And we are trying to capture that human being and the essence of it, very basically. It could be a man or a woman, or anyone, like, and of course we can wear, we can ask them to wear nice clothes, give them a good makeup, or put them where the light is beautiful, and put them in an environment sometimes, which is also like adds a lot. It could be a beautiful environment, could be a not so beautiful environment, but whatever that kind of comes to the story, adds to the story. So now this person is not just themselves, right? Like it's not the essence of the person alone, but what the person has kind of collected over time by living, by being somebody that they are striving to be, or being someone that they thought that they are. Whatever it is, there are like, shades to that personality. But then is that all? And so we inquire a bit more because, we are people that we come from nowhere and go to nowhere. And in a flash of what happens in this lifetime, we kind of gather some experience, learn from that and move on. So therefore there is a certain magical, if you may say spiritual or magical or something that an unexplainable kind of a dimension that happens. So there is a certain universe, there's a certain planet, and there's certain things that connects us, whether it's the forces of gravity that controls everyone, or the light that keeps everything kind of alive, or it could be the carbon that is built together, and now that we are separated, but still we are connected by a sense of longing, or quantum physics, or some other connections that goes on. So there are like layers to it. There are layers to a human, like how we behave and how we, in the night when we sleep, the kind of dreams that we have, the kind of like magnificent beings that we are. And it's actually, that's why like great movies and great art is inspired by this question about like, what is the fundamental where we come from, what we do, and are we this little that the roles that we play are we somebody like bigger than it? There's some of these questions are involved in photography and in portraiture, and that's why it also makes this form a much more of a human inquiry into things that we like and we don't like, and hate, and like passionately love everything. So I think that is where I think it's an interesting uh, connection to what we're talking about. So yes, of course, and we return to this beyond all these three-dimensional thoughts and notions. Then we come to a two-dimensional photo, and can we somehow imbue it with some of these ideas? Is what we are trying to see. Of course, that the question of like who are we really shooting when we are shooting others. I heard a talk in which this nice photographer called Stephen Teo, and this is from Nicer. It's Nice, that website. They do this talks, and he said, like, when I point my camera, the first thing I see is myself. So in a certain dimension that we are trying to just find a mirror. And when we read about relationships, then we understand that any relationship reflects who we are, whether it's with our spouse, whether it's with our bosses, or like subordinates. It's what we reflect and it's what we see. And there is a certain thing that even photography allows, even portrait allows us to do, which is to see ourselves in what we are shooting. And that's an interesting thing. And whether it's a very like whether very basic, like a lot of mirrors are being used in photography to reflect, or to kind of actually see like who we are in the faces that we see. That is a certain connection that we find. So there is of course what we're looking for is beauty. The picture has to be good looking. Picture has to be lit well. A picture has to be in some dimensionality correct. And if aesthetically, if you want to make it grainy or out of focus or not so beautiful, but that's another decision. And so that is also beautiful. So we are not saying just give me like sharp pictures and because that is what is photography. Not at all. Give me lit pictures because that is what is photography. No, not at all. And the second thing is that where we are placing that person or the picture, which gives us the context. Otherwise, it just becomes a cake. Like it doesn't become anything more. It's a sweet thing that you can consume. Of course, it's beautiful to see, but is there anything that is a bit more that can happen? Whether we can bring in a context of our story or their story or a human story, something that binds the beauty together and gives it a stage. And again, going back, this beauty is not the conventional beauty I'm talking about. It is what is appealing to you. Like it could be skin deep, it could be like bone deep, it could be like whatever, but it is something that is, like in a conventional or unconventional form, very interesting. That's what is beauty. So therefore, in this, we find there is a reflection that there, which is we are reflecting, the mirror is reflecting in the camera, the light is reflecting off the face. There is a lot of reflection literally involved here. And it's also reflection that involved in a philosophical sense. What are we thinking about? That comes in. And the connection. You could shoot your enemy, you could shoot your friend, whoever it is, but there is a certain connection that is being made at that moment between you and the subject, and the line that runs across in this world, in this universe, in this vision, in the orbit of images, everything. So there is some of those things that connects you, and that makes it fascinating. Also because language evolved much later than images, and so human beings for the longest time, I think we saw things and we registered things and we kind of communicated like that before we could say some of these things, articulate some of these things. So our resource of visuals are like too high. The dreaming the things that we like see, we expose ourselves to a lot of beautiful and not so beautiful images and impulses, and that is all stored in the brain. And sometimes it connects, it just makes like a neuron, like a pathway to understanding something. So therefore that is also driving the kind of connections. So yeah, these are some of the basics that that drives my everyday why I am associated with photography or filmmaking or any of those things. And these are my, or drawing, that these are the basic impulses that drive me. Um, uh, that sets the context of my work, if you see. Of course, it, like, you know, whatever I've said is a bit more hyped up. My work is not there, but that's where I am going. Um, so when we, now we come to, let's say, like, you know, what people can shoot and what is portraits and what are the things that they can try. And this is for people with, you know, beginning your journey, or you're already in it, or you're an experienced shooter. Of course, there is staged photograph that you kind of bring somebody, you set up something and you shoot them. And of course, there is beauty in that. And if you can bring in a context, it'll be great. The environmental portrait is about putting people in a certain environment. You shoot your mom in a kitchen, and that's her world. You shoot your a friend in his room, or you know, you shoot your mom at her work, or you know, riding a bike or car, whatever. So it is a certain thing that adds, like there is a mother and there is a environment, there is a object. So what is that connection that gives us? So these give to the environmental portraits. And candid, of course, we all know catching somebody when they are not aware what they're doing. So that's much more a natural way of behavior. It's how human beings used to shoot animals. Now, of course, we also shoot like all human beings with another camera on the side, so that it's kind of, you know, like, you know, that as if like they forget that we exist, and they behave in their way. So from political leaders to your friends to people getting married, you know, this is a great thing. And this brings out a certain essence also, because people are not too conscious about what they're doing. If you're shooting somebody from your near and dear ones, and they are involved in their work, and you shoot them, there you get a real personality, than to kind of show a camera and kind of make them all you know, conscious. And the creative portrait is, of course, a combination of all these things. And also it's to express a certain creative need and a creative impulse and a creative understanding of something. So we will see some examples of all this. For example, this is a couple portrait on friends they wanted to do, and it's a staged picture, and it also combines a certain creative element to it. And out of nowhere, their dog walks in and Hobbes is in the picture. So it's like it's an easy picture, but they're dressed and they're sitting like somebody from a movie, like, you know, from a colonial kind of a scene, but they're in India. And all these things are happening, and it's a graphic frame. So I like something like this. This we shot like a long time back, a friend, and it's to convey a certain mood. There is an animal, and a lot of my work involves animal, but real or mostly fake. But yeah, in the future, even real animals. And this is a portrait from my army project. And there's a man who's standing on top of a mountain. And it also stands for, you know, a certain human endeavor and achievement. And we also, you know, do a diptych. There is another picture of there's a big, like there's a glacier that's there. So it kind of talks about human spirit, also like giving this man this due of who could be. And he's not arrogant, he's just simple, and he's looking like, you know, like what lies ahead. So there is some of those things that go into the picture. And this is, my son was doing something when he was like, I think 5 years old, and I shot a picture, and it's a good memory for me. And those were my work. And of course we see like, Lara's cover for ID. This is a creative work, and this is again a creative work. And this is a beautiful Queen's speech, Chloe Shepherd's staged image that was done. It's just a beautiful image, and it also goes in the cure, meaning a lot of movement that was happening. So it's great. When it comes to like photography, of course, like, you know, whatever that you have in your hand is the best thing to use. Sometimes it's a phone, sometimes it's a digital camera, sometimes it's an analog camera, and sometimes it's meaning you don't have pictures that you have taken, but your dad and mom have taken pictures, and you want to like use that, or you take into get some archival images, and then you make like new images out of it. For example, this image from Alessandro won the PH Museum 2020 Mobile Photo of the Year very recently. It's a iPhone binocular image taken from the 9th floor. People are having lunch, but it looks like they're on a different planet. We don't like really care whether it's taken out of a phone or taken from a medium or large format camera, because it's a great image, and it's just it's a beautiful storytelling that also employs this. Maybe because it's shot through a binocular, it kind of looks like that. So this is also an image that's Elena Halik's PH Museum Mobile Photo of the Year. So our father is watching something, and it's a funny sight during the lockdown. It's beautiful. We don't know whether it's lit by something or not, meaning like it looks like a professional picture. It's taken by a phone. So I sometimes don't stop yourselves to say that, you know, I need to grab the best camera that I can get, and then wait for an opportunity for that. This is from the GUP magazine, Guide to Unique Photography magazine. Somebody has done like, you know, from old archival images, they've added some elements, and then they've taken a picture of that. And this qualifies as a storytelling thing. So of course, like we encourage you to shoot your own pictures, but sometimes you can combine a certain archival image with a certain perspective. So this is where the beauty and the context meets. We'll see one more project later. I would like to show you a few commissioned works of mine before moving into my personal thing. And this is a project for Indian Army, and it combines a lot of environmental elements with the human spirit. And I also wanted to ask this question that, you know, like, what is my view about Army? Like, you know, personally, whether like, you know, somebody likes Army or not, but there is a certain heroic part that they play. And also they are, you know, they have to wear a uniform and toil and lead very difficult lives. But at the same time, they are like really human beings, and they're very tender and very, like any other person that works anywhere. They have families. They miss their families. Sometimes they're stationed in cold places for 3 months. They don't see more than 2 people. So they take a lot of this, no, in this isolation that with homes that we live in, it was too difficult. But I've seen people who have to mind a post in a very cold area like a Siachen, and for 6 months, 3 months, there's just a couple of guys, couple of soldiers sitting there, and you know, so I wanted to just capture that you know, human spirit that comes with it. This is during one of their practices shot. And this is one of the 4 or 5 people that we showcased. Mr. Goel is a doctor, captain, I think. Again, there are like few women officers. This is Komal, and I forget the rank, but somebody who can see the call I can identify. And in the world of like a lot of men, you know, some of these women really stand out. And I went to Pune for the when the new cadets come in. Just going to drink some water. So a father and son, and some of the trophies and still lifes that are there. This is Agra training, Siachen, Smita again. And in a cold like Kardungla, the trucks are going. And after the hike, evening, they all come and have jalebis and coffee and tea. And that's a very like heartwarming moment. So I felt like, some of these kind of, yeah. And there are many more in my site you can go and see. And they are immediately, they're bonding with you, they're talking with you, they're giving you like sweets and stuff like that. And it's a nice feeling. Most of them have their names because once they cover, you can't identify who's who. This project we did with Coffee Day. We shot the coffee pickers in their estates, and their idea CCD came up with was to ask them to wear some of their traditional costumes and have these pictures taken. And we used these in the stores and stuff like that to kind of to give it a special feeling of where the coffee is coming from. Again, this involves people and environment and product and everything. And in Malnad estate, the light is so beautiful and these women really look like goddesses. So I shot some of these pictures like this in that natural light. They're such beautiful people. And CSK is a brand, meaning the team I've been shooting for a long time because my friends, meaning they run an agency, and initially we started shooting and then it kind of became a very good collaboration. So every year we think of like what we can do. Just a few pictures because I think these are like not having any environment. This is just about the human body and the human face. There's no environment, but I just feel that there's so much of character in these faces. So this is a different kind of a portrait study where you treat the face as a landscape and you just see like what are the things you can observe from it. And of course, like you can, at which time you've shot will explain that, why people have a certain mood about it. Yeah. So this is, of course, like some of the commissioned work where then I always look out for family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, subjects of interest. It could be somebody who I meet on the road and it'll be like, oh, you got a great face. Can you take a picture? Or to like, I'll be thinking like, can we do a story about, like somebody like the post office people work there and things like that. I'd be like, wherever I go, I'll be thinking about those things. And of course, like whoever is close to you, they will be obliged to kind of give you time. And that way, every photographer shapes the first pieces of work based on, they're the closest family. So, so find subjects in and around your house, people you're close with, people you know a lot about, and see what you can do. These were my neighbors, Gopi and Geeta, and they are always like, at home, reading or writing. And this is a beautiful library that they have. So I often go and chat with them, and like one day I shot their pictures. That's more like initially a candid picture. Then there is like a nice portrait, but it still has a lot of environment and the kind of clothing that she wears and the way she looks. Everything has a certain thing to it. And this is Gopi's a favorite place where he'll sit here and do crossword and listen to music and stuff like that. And of course, because this bookshelf is a great connecting point to them, both of them read a lot of books. I wanted to take a picture, and still this is like a great portrait I would consider of a couple who's beautifully grown old together. In the afternoons, she probably takes a nap looking out. This is my dad and my son. Often I use them as characters in my imagination play. And the idea is also like not to make them conscious, go give them something and say, this is the idea, let's just do it, instead of like asking them like too much and then, prepping them, making them conscious. So yeah, so this is just like, wearing masks and they're fooling around. This is a friend musician of mine who's going through a lot of self-reflection period of time. And I shot some of these pictures which kind of reflects that. There is a certain dimension that he's trying to break, reassemble, come back. So that, then I also like, physically printed these, cut them and put it together to see where that goes. Some of these experimental things you can, one can try. Some of my friends, Sasha, Amla, Sean, Radha, partner. That was Rohit, previous one. And this recent story I shot with Mitra. She's a very young, very interesting character, model, writer. So these are some things that bring out who you are and who they are, and you try to find a interesting point of meeting there. So those were like exploratory kind of work, and this project is one of my favorite projects what I had done. It's called Appa and Other Animals. And my dad was unwell for a long time, and of course he's no more. But he kind of spent a lot of time, being unwell in the last like 2-3 years, and he suffered a stroke that made him kind of immobile, and we had to like put a lot of people around him to help him out and stuff like that. And it was very difficult time. He already had lost his eyes when he was younger, and he dedicated himself to writing, and he's a prolific writer, about 30-40 books, magazines he's run, and he's one of the major sources of inspiration for me. And during this time, my brother took care of him, and of course I wanted to go give him a break and to hang out and take him to doctors and all that. So I'd spent some time. It was a kind of a difficult time because I was seeing my dad like this, and during that time we spoke about a lot of our childhood memories, and I used to talk to him about everything that I learned, and then he would be like very interested in listening about what I'm what I'm going through and what are the things I'm learning. And so it's a beautiful like like a voyage of discovery that we two usually do. And during daytime I'll be like hanging out with him, telling jokes, and the evenings I'll go for a walk carrying my point and shoot film camera, and shoot some pictures. And then after some time I just thought like I should just kind of put this together. And I kind of don't have any sanctity element of, oh, we can't disturb a picture and stuff like that. I feel that's an image sometimes is full, sometimes it's a passage to something else. So here I feel I've given him 2 eyes, drawing 2 eyes, because I felt his vision was stronger than his eyes, and even though he lost his eyesight, he was able to kind of go through life with a certain very clear vision. And also like I wanted to give him like a larger than life feel. So this is an introductory picture for it. This is an environment picture that in Chennai, like in my house, that he lived in Coimbatore, and I live in Chennai. So this is my room. And every day evening when we go out, this dog used to come and follow me, and and somehow like he'll walk with me. And I also feel like humans have memories from a pre-human, could be a pre-animal past, and that a lot of times you can those who love pets, they know that they have a special bond and special way of communicating with the pets, and there is a very healing relationship both of them can go through. um, this is a journal entry I had written down. So I brought that into this image, which is when I was a child, I'd always dream about flying, not about the mountains or clouds, but just over a football field. And I always used to think that if I ran fast enough, and I could just take off like a hovercraft kind of a thing. Um, and I used to like it a lot. My body would feel much lighter and my heart calm. I used to think I was a bird in my previous birth. What bird would fly just over a field like those birds that hover around the ocean looking for prey? My brother used to have a Doberman named Dobby. He was ferocious and kind, just like his master. I did not have a strong bond with animals growing up, but now they come to me, hug me, and tell me their troubles. They feel I can listen to them. I also talk to them and tell them my problems. They don't look me in the eye, but they brush against me and drool in my pants. Every man has the heart of an animal, energetically still connected, beating somewhere inside a jungle. Animals can hear them, we cannot. This I'd written sometime. I kind of stitched that together, and kind of it gives you a different context. And you could see more of this work in my website. And I don't want to of course, there are different scenes that communicate different things for me. Um, this scene is about my dad buying me the first TV. When we were children, there were no TV at home. We grew up hearing stories about TV and telecast, etc. Our neighbors got a TV, and so the whole colony used to go and watch. Later, when we've decided to pick up, my mother went and picked it up. It's usually the one that she buys, uh, the one that buys stuff for home. And it was a little Crown TV, black and white. And I used to watch it like all the time. And one night when I was watching it, I started seeing colors. I imagined like, this has become a color TV in the night, and it's all happening for me. So I woke my dad and said, you know what, the TV is, I can see color. He said, okay, great, just turn it off and come to bed. So it's like a fun thing that I remember. So I'd put that in. So what happens is when you have like a history with someone like your dad, um, over time, and you have the liberty to kind of shape that liberty to kind of make them into the person that you want them to be, and they are in a certain way, but there are layers to them that you would discover over time. And when you get older, you start seeing some more things. So all that you can just bring in at some point of time. He's not my dad, he's become my son. He's like there is some things that happen like that. There's a series called Reflector. I shot a lot of light men and turned them into superhero types. It's a recent project. They are going through a lot of trouble because of COVID. There is no their sustenance is under question, and they are standing in different places and reflecting the light. So I thought this series called Reflector, and they are reflecting light using dinner plates to just bring a certain attention to the problem, and that also makes them look like a character, like a alien character or a superhero character with a head being round. So I tried uh, that, and that's there in my Instagram. Some works of inspiration that I want to quickly show. Since we talked about people closer home, this is from, again, It's Nice That, a recent project, Min Hyung-woo. She visited Korean villages to photograph the wit and wisdom of grandmothers. It was commissioned for Vogue Korea, but I think it's a great project, such a beautiful project of grandmothers. And this is beautiful, but again, when we say wit and wisdom, and then you see them, then you get like the context very beautifully. One of my favorite photographers, Christopher Anderson, he made a book called Sun some time back, and now his daughter is growing up and she's asking like, where is my book? His daughter's name is Pia, and he's taken pictures of her. It involves like, also a growth, a passage of like, from she's growing up, there are things happening around the family, they travel, there is environment. So it's a beautiful book. It's a new book, if you can get your hands on it. Otherwise, you can look at Christopher Anderson's work. His colors are like so beautiful. It's another story about Maxime Cardol, a photographer who's photographed the unbreakable bond between sisters, and we know that sisters stick together like crazy. So they sometimes they mirror each other. So there is a nice project about her shooting a bunch of girls who are sisters in real life. Yeah. So it just means that you don't have to like go across the world and search for something extraordinary. It's all like the stories are like just lying in your backyard. Of course, if you want to do something fun, these are some surreal portraits of Brooke. You can use your friends and create these scenarios. And of course, like there's an award-winning project of anonymous portrait collages called Me, Myself, and I, Bonita Posma. And I think these are found images that are stitched together and from different times, assemblage of like images, giving some interesting pictures together. It's collage work. Yeah, so some of this is like, the examples why I showed grandmothers and sisters, and, like some of these are to say that, access something that is beautiful, close to you, interesting to you, and try to start like working on that and send us your work. There's a beautiful letter written more than 100 years back by Rilke, and it says, go into yourself, find out the reason that commands you to write. For a writer, it's advice for a writer. See whether it has spread its roots into the very depths of your heart. Confess to yourself whether you would die if you were forbidden to write. Most of all, ask yourself, in the most silent hour of your night, must I write? Dig into yourself for a deep answer. And if this answer rings out in assent, if you meet this solemn question with a strong, simple "I must," then build your life in accordance with this necessity. Your whole life, even into its humblest and most indifferent hour, must become a sign and witness to his impulse. Of course, we're talking about writing, but photography is similar. So this middle part about this advice is common to everyone. It says, go into yourself and see how deep the place is from which your life flows. And its source, you will find the answer to the question whether you must create. Accept the answer just as it is given to you without trying to interpret it. Perhaps you will discover that you are called to be an artist. So yeah, take time, go into yourself and see how deep the place is from which your life flows, and and send us your work, and we'll be like very interested in seeing that.